Carl and Lou here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life. It is the Nasties, and we are covering one of the more famous ones. It is, of course, a cannibal horror, which these are the ones that you know got the most shit thrown at them.
Yeah.
And this isn't it. This isn't Holocaust, but it is one of the other ones. It is Cannibal Ferox or Ferox, depending upon how you pronounce or choose to say it. My understanding is it is Cannibal Ferox. Also known as Make Them Die Slowly in the US, and as Woman from Deep River in Australia. To try and cash in on that Man from Deep River fame. It's 1981 released Italian cannibal exploitation horror film, written and directed by Umberto Lenzi. Now, woo, baby, this one got hammered everywhere. It was released uncut on video in the UK circa 1982 by Replay. The film was transgressive imagery and scenes of real animal torture and slaughter, resulted in the film promptly being banned and finding itself languishing for years on the Nasties list. Now, again, let's just look at that. In 1982, this film was readily available in video rental stores with no age rating, with no limitations or anything. This is where you can always sit back and go, yeah, we needed something.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, this should never have been viewed by anyone below the age of fucking 16.
Yeah, definitely not.
Absolutely.
Definitely not.
It's incredibly graphic, violent, and horrible at times.
And there's sex in it as well.
Yep.
There's stuff. Yeah, there's stuff you shouldn't be watching.
We needed.
You need ratings.
Yeah, we didn't need the nasties. We didn't need this level of censorship, but we needed some level of goddamn rating.
Yeah, his boundary, because with the ability to make more and more outlandish creative ideas, you need to put that in place.
Yep.
So
early DVD versions available in the UK were missing around 6 minutes of footage. 6 minutes. That's incredible.
That's nice.
Obviously, chiefly relating to the graphic violence and the animal cruelty, which was obviously cut out.
Yeah.
The full version of the film was submitted to the board again in 2018, but received 2 minutes of cuts to the animal violence. There you go. In Australia, where it was released as Woman from Deep River, the film also faced censorship issues, given numerous censored releases. However, as of 2005, the uncut version was released on DVD by Siren Visual under the Cannibal Ferox title. And in the US, Cannibal Ferox, aka Make Them Die Slowly, the original uncensored director's cut was released by Grindhouse, releasing in the late 1990s. Grindhouse is still the sole official licensed distributor of that film in North America. So the main 3 markets just had so much bother with it. Now, here's a real problem. There are many versions of this film that claim to be uncut.
yeah.
But are found to be either missing 40, 50 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes of it. Finding a version of this film that is completely uncut is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult. The version we watched, as far as I could see, could have been completely uncut because of the level of animal slaughter we see in it. However, it couldn't be. Because of the service that we watched it on and how we watched it.
Yeah.
There is a problem with that. So I don't know if we watched a completely uncut version or a cut version.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more likely we watched the one with 2 minutes of cuts. And even still, there is a lot on this where you're probably like, you didn't need to have that in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I always be more than happy to like...
We're not normally pro cut. But when it comes to, you're about to show me, you're going to kill a turtle. And you're going to show me that killing of that turtle. I probably don't need that. We're not filming a fucking documentary here. This isn't David Attenborough showing you nature in it. You're showing us human beings capturing and cutting a turtle up. No thanks.
No. And I think everything else is humans that have agreed to do this as part of their acting role. These animals didn't agree.
Didn't get a choice, yeah.
Yeah. I know some people might find it's hypocritical in your choice of like,
there is a level of hypocriticalness. I said it during it. Yep.
There is. But just have that as part of entertainment when there's no need, when you've got gore in other parts. You could just you could film the animals and then cut to just like sausages for intestines, and you've already got gore. Have a tub of gore and have them ripping into gore. There's no need for the real animals, and it's just a weird obsession that I just don't get in these films. So
yeah, I mean, I see it 2 ways. I agree with what you're saying. I think there is a level of hypocriticalness to be like, oh yeah, look at these natives in this film. slaughtering and killing things for their own food, while we're using slaughterhouses for animals and chowing down on beef, pork, and all that. Hilarious. Here's the big difference, and you've touched upon it already. The difference is we don't watch a movie that's designed for entertainment, not a documentary, not an expose, a movie that's designed for entertainment and of cows being shot in the head and slaughtered in a slaughterhouse. We don't do that. No. That's not what happens. If that happens, it's normally an expose, a documentary, a real life look at something. It's not supposed to be a movie with actors in it.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. Yeah. However, this movie is great. I think this movie is very fucking good. Do you agree?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yep, I think it's going to be one of the ones that stand out at the top of the, okay, this was a really well done movie with classy acting. And
I feel like when the animal cruelty did happen in it, we're like, oh no, because we were really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like, did you have to? Because since we all love animal, we knew that.
Yeah, there was a point I remember saying to her, I was like, oh, we got this far without bullshit, and here it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Cast. Now, there are two sets. This is something I didn't know till I looked into it. There are two different sets of cast. One for the actor, one for a voice actor. And that really shocked me. Is the dubbing on this is fucking excellent. To the point where I did not even know.
No, I didn't know that.
I did not notice it. In fact, we thought it wasn't. We even said during when we were watching it, oh, it's cool, it's not dubbed.
Yeah.
No, it was. Amazing. So, characters and actors. Giovanni Lombardi Radice is a name who you will get to know as Mike Logan. Frank von Kjöglin as the English dub voice. Lorraine Dessel as Gloria Davis. Pat Stark as the voice of Gloria Davis. Daniela Matteo as Rudy Davis. Gregory Snegoff as Rudy Davis's voice. Zera Kavoa as Pat Johnson. She did not have a credited a voice actor. Now all the voice actors were uncredited in the movie, so only you find this out online. But she didn't have one, so I think she might have been the only one who was speaking normally, which makes sense because if you think of Pat in that movie, she might have been the one we pointed out and went, "Oh, there's no dubbing."
Really, yeah.
And Walter Lucchini as Joe Costolini, and Andy Lutio as the voice of Joe Costolini. So yeah, here's the thing: don't worry about it. The dubbing is really fucking good.
Yeah.
You will not notice it. So you know what you're getting in for here. It's a cannibal horror that tries initially to do something different and then just gives up.
And does the same thing.
And does the same thing what they all do. And basically, in Colombia, siblings Rudy and Gloria, brother and sister, and their friend Pat are preparing for a journey to the rainforest. The plan is... And I had a real problem with this.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
To prove Gloria wants to write a thesis on a theory that cannibalism is a myth by going into the jungle and finding a tribe and proving that they just live off the land and there's no such thing as cannibalism. And I went, that is not proof.
Yeah.
That is one tribe.
Yeah.
How does that disprove all cannibalism exists in the entire fucking world?
And that's the whole point of these tribes, they're not going to have like some sort of like internet survey or like a phone-in survey. How are you going to?
It doesn't. She's going to write a thesis on that. So when she links back to sources, she'll have one.
Yeah.
That is not. It's absurdly stupid.
It was really like loose plot, wasn't it?
It's so stupid as a reason for them to go out there. Now we should say, several times throughout the movie, it will jump back to New York. In fact, we actually open in New York. But the reason why I didn't mention it is because I think it's next to irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think it's next to irrelevant when it comes down to it. And it's simply because we see some guys shot an apartment and it turns out they're looking for somebody else, a guy called Mike, who apparently got loaned 100 grand from a loan shark and then has done a runner with the money.
Yeah.
100 grand from a loan shark.
Yeah.
That is a rich loan shark.
That's quite a lot of money.
That is quite a lot of money. But Mike has gone missing. And the other times we jump back and forth is when we go to the woman who owns the apartment, who was apparently shacking up with Mike. And the police are investigating and trying to find what Mike is. It's purely so at the very end, the survivor can be rescued by these people looking for her. Yeah. Basically, as they go along, they investigate in New York. They'll find the links and eventually find out what Mike is. Yep. And then go there with a helicopter and eventually find her. That's the only reason it exists. Yep. As a story point to get her out of the jungle. Yep. Here's the thing. Could have done it any other way. Could have just done it. She fucking got on a fucking canoe and rode down the river. Yep. So I'm not going to talk about that part at all. I'm just going to focus on what occurs in the jungle. So, yeah, we quickly learned the kind of characteristics of these characters. Rudy and Gloria, they're brother and sister. They get along, but they bicker back and forth and stuff like that. Gloria's got heady ideas. and is one of those. She is the equivalent of the modern day city living teen who goes to deep South America and insults the hosts. That's what she's the equivalent of, where she's got no sense about her, and she's like, I'm going to this jungle and I'm going to prove cannibalism doesn't exist. And it's like, it's a jungle, right? You know there are animals and creatures and things that can kill you.
Stuff,
and they may also not welcome you with open arms.
No, you've got to toughen up.
Yeah, that kind of character. Whereas Pat is, how do I put this politely? How do I put this nicely? There to be the sex object.
Yeah.
She very quickly flirts with, it's so weird. So I don't want to insult the dude, but he's short, fat, sweaty, and weird looking.
Yeah, it looks like he needs a wash.
And he's basically like a local head of police, so to speak, of the area. And he's sleazy, and it's weird, and she basically invites him. She wants to have a shower. He says he's got a shower at hers, and she's like, yeah, come on. Yeah. And we find out afterwards that they fucked.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. But that's Pat, because she'll meet Mike later on and be banging him very, very quickly. She's
5 minutes of meeting him.
Yeah, she has no problem with that kind of thing. And in the jungle, they quickly come a cropper in the most hilarious way. The thing is, we praise this movie for being good, but there are elements of that are downright stupid.
Yeah.
As what do? They get the Jeep stuck in mud first.
Yeah.
They get it out. And then they're like, okay, what we'll do is we'll go a little bit further along this way, right? This is hilarious. We'll go a little bit further on this way, and if we don't find a road or a path, we'll just head back and give up. And we're like, okay, cool, they're going to continue the road. No. They do a sharp left turn into the fucking jungle.
Yeah.
Not forward, just boom.
Straight into it, yeah.
And they go 5 seconds and then properly get the fucking car stuck.
Yep.
And I was just
Crash
like,
it.
why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Unbelievably stupid. So now they're stuck, and now they're beginning to worry and that side of things. But they end up coming across Mike and his business partner Joe as they come storming out of it. Joe is badly hurt by the look of it. He's bandaged up. Mike's got him on his shoulder, and Mike explains that they were attacked by cannibals and they just managed to escape with their own lives. Very, very lucky. Obviously, this badly upsets Gloria. Because it kind of disproves her thing. Yep. She kind of wants to know for herself. And during the night, she goes missing. And Rudy goes looking for her and finding a pretty much abandoned village while looking for her. They're all lost in the jungle. They don't really know where to go. This village looks to be abandoned, although there is a body, like a desiccated body tied to a tree with limbs missing and stuff like that. Mike says that was their guide. Their guide, and he was cannibalized. But they decide to stay at the village temporarily while Joe's injuries kind of heal. They give him some medication and stuff like that. We should say as well that Pat and Mike have now started to hook up. Yep. She's been quickly seduced by Mike, who has he's a bit of a charm about him. It helps that Giovanni Lombardi-Radice is a fucking wonderful actor. Yeah, and I'm saying this because he's in several video nasties. Yeah. And he has range. And I think he's great in this. I think he is.
Yeah, it's funny when you get people that pop up.
Yeah, we're going to see this more and more as we go forward.
Yeah, we tend to have patterns of just completely unplanned of like, was that guy just not in the last one? And it's quite funny. We don't pick, maybe just like Fate has said, watch a few of his films in a row or her films in a row.
Maybe.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, after he has sex with her, seduces her, he gets high on cocaine, basically. And he's always offering it to Pat, who's up for it. And they end up coming across a native girl who then encourages Pat to kill her. He's kind of teasing and torturing. It's quickly made clear that Mike is not a good guy at all. But he tries to get Pat to do it as well, but she's unable to do it. She ends up saving the younger one. There's another boy as well. He runs away, and Mike kills the girl himself.
It's funny because she starts off like really into it, and it's like that because of a complete U-turn,
which we thought was odd. If you remember, we were like, "Don't like that. That's weird character stuff."
Should have been out from the start. Like she should have been not involved in that from the start. And it feels like the woman at the beginning, from Gloria, I don't know if she'd be friends with someone completely like that. I mean, you've got friends a bit more kind of like wild and free living, but the fact she was just changed so quickly. I mean, they might have blamed it on drugs, but the fact was it was like a complete like she was from like taunting a girl, and obviously when it got a bit heavier, she was like, no, I'm not involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit thrown in there just to kind of obviously show Mike for his true colours.
That's kind of it, really, isn't it? Yeah, to show him sort of he's got a level of cruelty about him, and then you quickly start going, those itches start in your brain. You're like, how much of what he's saying is true?
Yeah.
In his dying moments, though, Joe reveals the truth. He reveals that he and Mike were actually responsible for turning the cannibals aggressive. They came to the region to exploit the natives for emeralds and cocaine. So basically, they'd met one of the tribe would go to town and sell wares, which was really, really sensible and clever. And it was like, yeah, there's one who's speaks English, speaks a certain level of the language and so on, and he would go to town, essentially sent as an envoy, who would then sell items and the trade and stuff like that. It's completely sensible. He had actually run into Mike and Joe there. They had plied him with some booze and stuff like that, and he revealed that the river they lived on held emeralds, basically.
Yeah, you've got to sift them out.
You've got to sift them out. So Mike, who obviously had been spending the drug dealer's money back in New York, has come up with an idea, well, I can get these, we can sell them, and we can give them back the money. So, and it's basically taking advantage of their trust in white men. Yeah. That's a cool angle. Yeah. Really like it.
Yeah.
When that got revealed, I was like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And we loved the idea of, shit, what if Gloria's right and these dudes are just decent, have been pushed a bit too far, and are taking their revenge, and it's nothing to do with cannibalism at all. Wow.
No chance.
So one day, while high on cocaine, and realising not finding emeralds and getting frustrated, Mike tortured and killed their native guide in full view of the tribe. The body we saw that he said was that what the cannibals had done, he was actually the person responsible for that.
He's a bad dude.
And then on his way out, after upsetting the cannibals, the tribe as it were, I keep calling them cannibals because that's exactly what they are. Yeah. He grabbed the native girl to lead them out of the jungle, but they were attacked, and that's where they run into Gloria and all of them, basically.
So that all kind of makes sense, doesn't it? All slots in.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it does tie in because that leads directly to when they met. Joe then dies of his wounds, and they get attacked by the cannibals who have come to this village now. His body is found, and this is where we went, as they eat him. They cannibalize him while Rudy and Gloria hide from the natives. They see it from a distance, and we were so disappointed.
It would have been nice to have it as a non-cannibal. I know the film would have been Cannibal Ferox. It would have been a wrong title, but have it as they're not cannibals. They're just a tribe, like I said, living off the land.
Don't call it Cannibal Ferox. Call it Make 'Em Die Slowly. Stick to the title that you originally had and have it be that their vengeance is torture. Not eating them, but torture for what they did to them.
Yeah.
There's your brutality. There's your horrible nature.
And that applied to Mike as well, Make Them Die Slowly, because obviously he's a bit of a shit.
But yeah, it's cannibalism of a body. You see a lot of body parts being eaten. It's the usual shit you expect from it. Mike and Pat abandon the others and run off, but they are captured and forced into a cage. And then the prisoners are forced to watch as Mike is tortured, castrated, and beaten. Yeah, he does get his knob cut off here. You don't see it being cut off, but you do see the tribesmen eating it afterwards.
Oh yeah, of course.
He pulls it up and it's like, oh, and it was like, oh man. Did make us laugh afterwards how Mike losing his dick, and he admittedly he does get what did you call it? Cauterized by the tribesmen, but he doesn't later when he's forced to walk and stuff like that. He doesn't act like it's a minor inconvenience more than anything else.
More pain in
a lot more fucking pain, particularly the walk. Absolutely. The natives then end up transporting the prisoners to another village, one further in the jungle, so a lot deeper in where they've actually been staying after Mike. Obviously, what happened after Mike and Joe had come, they'd abandoned that village, realizing it was too close to white man territory.
Yep.
So it's like, well, let's go further inland where they're going to struggle. But Rudy does manage to escape. He's caught in a booby trap in the jungle, and his bleeding wounds attract piranhas, which was a cool scene.
Yeah,
that was a cool scene.
Yeah, they do enough with piranhas, do they?
I think they must have used real piranhas and put like a leg of meat inside the river.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bit of the river, yeah.
The natives just watch him, basically. He begs them to help, and he gets killed with a poisoned dart. Dies instantly. We didn't realise he died at first. I presumed he'd been knocked down. And I was like, oh no, he's actually dead. It was a bit of a flat ending for the character.
Yeah, he was such a big character.
He was a big character.
He was a likeable character because he was trying to look after the girls, wasn't he, really? So.
Yeah. Pat and Gloria are put in a big hole in the ground. Mike is placed in a separate cage. A native man, the one who Pat had saved from Mike's aggression earlier on, he wants to help the girls, basically. And he lowers a rope in a hole so the women can escape. He's sympathetic, basically, to them. Realises that Mike's the problem. They're just unlucky.
Yeah, victims.
But rain has meant that Mike's the mud in his cage has allowed him to be able to dig his way out. And he ends up chasing that man away, and then he cuts the rope to stop the women from escaping, because Mike is just the worst.
He is. He's a dick.
Mike does run into the jungle where he tries to attract the attention of the plane. So we got the first sighting of a plane that's flying over, but searching for the women. But he is recaptured. This time the natives decide to cut one of his hands off. You know, can't say he doesn't deserve it, but he gets a hand cut off. It's graphic.
Yeah.
It is.
Do like a bit of that. Just a bit of gore thrown in that's not related to animals.
True. Yeah, so like the animal slaughter side of things, it's not important to the story. It's randomly jammed in. It's often just an imagery of here's something happening. There's a long sequence early on involving a snake hunting an animal. There's a part where one's tied up. Obviously, we talked about the turtle death at the start. It's just animal violence.
Just unnecessary.
And violence towards animals. Gory, violent slaughter of actual living things, you know. It's there. You'll see it if you find a mostly uncut version. And that is that. So this search plane, basically, is looking around for them. Ends up landing, but they actually run into the natives who use an interpreter, one who speaks English, to explain that, oh, they knew, you know, we saw these people that you're looking for. But actually, their boat capsized in the river. Yeah. And they were devoured by crocodiles. Sneaky. But, yeah, okay. And they're like, okay, fair enough. Then we cut back to the village where one of the more graphic sequences happens. And this involves Pat, who is stripped to the waist. So, you know, you get some boobs. But the natives use hooks. To basically, they use the hooks under her breasts. Yeah. And then lift her into the air. So she's being held up
quite nasty
by these hooks in her breasts. It's really it's whoa, I didn't see that coming.
No, definitely not. Because it's normally more the eating part of it rather than the actual torture.
Yeah, and the thing was like I thought because Pat had tried help the other people earlier on, she might be alright, but it was certainly not the case. Gloria can only watch as Pat dies a very slow and painful death. Mike then, it's Mike's turn to get killed in graphic fashion, as basically he's locked inside a contraption that he goes underneath it, the top of his head goes through the top, and they cut off the top of his skull using a knife. He's instantly killed, of course, and then they eat his exposed brains. Because cannibals, never forget that. Oh, yeah. Again, very graphic. And these are two death sequences in quick succession. Quite extreme, right?
I feel like it ramps up as well. Because there's not loads and loads, and then it kind of just death.
I was wondering about this, and I was wondering, is the reason why they sort of go, all right, let's stop fucking around and kill them, is because they realise people are searching for them?
Probably, yeah. You would start to think the longer the white people are away from their hometowns, their homes, the more likely they are to be kind of hunted down.
Well, obviously they've also run into people as well who are looking for them. The only thing that falls that apart is, why would you do that to Pat then? Why don't you just kill her? Yeah, that's torturous and doesn't paint them in a sympathetic light.
No, of course not.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah. That's the problem. But the sympathetic native, the one that's been trying to help Pat and Gloria earlier on, returns and actually frees Gloria. He guides her through the jungle, but ends up dying at the hand of one of his own tribe's traps. Gloria, desperately being hunted and so on, ends up encountering a pair of men who actually end up helping her. And basically, this is where the film comes to an end in a puzzling way, as it turns out that Pat doesn't tell the truth of what happened. She ends up telling the same story that the natives did, that the others died via crocodile and she just happened to survive. She returns to civilization and publishes a book titled Cannibalism, End of a Myth. So she published her thesis, is lauded at this book event where there's people there and a presser there, and she's being given like an honorary degree for proving that cannibalism doesn't exist. But not only that, it's all a lie. Why?
Bizarre,
right?
There's other reasons to go out there.
Now, I thought, okay, she's probably seeing it as, you know what, they were cannibals, but we did it to them. Yeah. Right? But no, that doesn't fly. Because you can say they wanted revenge, but it doesn't mean, why were they eating you then? Yeah. And why, when it's like revenge, are they like, okay, I'm going to hook Pat up by her boobs and do that? Something like, none of this makes any sense.
No. And to say, there's other reasons to get people out of the jungle. There's like 1,000 other reasons. There's some sort of plant in there that you need.
The idea was sound. The idea was sound. In a sense, I didn't even mind the idea of her thesis idea, but provided it was being sold as she was just some stupid city girl with a pipe dream.
Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
you know? Because it doesn't make any sense. But as well, to get this, like, the guy that's introducing her is like, oh, she went out there. She lived it. She proved that cannibalism doesn't exist. And I was like, no. No, she didn't.
Idiots.
So what? She'd been to every jungle.
Oh, yeah.
Every jungle in the entire world now and proven this, has she?
Nope.
She went to one.
Yeah.
And she says she didn't see anything. That's her proof. My word.
Yeah. Which means, yeah. It's just it's a bit stupid, isn't it?
It's very, very stupid. And it kind of focuses on her face at the end as if it's like she's like harrowed and hardened and like from the ordeal. But all I kept thinking, yeah, but you're a liar. And you could potentially as well send people to their death.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, okay, right. So like it's a lot more friendly. We can go out there.
Yeah, we can go study them a bit more.
Yeah. Dead.
Yeah.
Dead. And that's the thing. It's just going to take one situation like that of people going, you know what? Yeah, now that we know that, we can be a bit braver into the jungle. A large group get killed. Someone ends up finding out, oh, they were eaten. And it's like, oh, you said they did. You said they didn't.
Yeah. Liar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a flat ending and a bit like, oh, is that it? Okay. You know? But overall, the movie's great. Like it moves at a solid pace throughout. And it ramps up so significantly in the end where you're constantly shocked, almost to a degree, by the visuals of it.
You say the one where she's got chained up was the worst one for me.
Yeah, oh well, obviously,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not a pretty one at all. It's I'd never seen it, to be honest.
No.
I've never seen that done before that I can think of.
We watched a lot of horror, a lot of nasties as well. So
Yeah, it's certainly fresh, and it's very, very violent from that point onwards. You know, even beforehand, from castration to just people getting impaled on things and so on. The whole story works really well. Character-wise, it's solid. There's a small group. We get to know most of them. Their reasons are varied. Not always the most clever, but they're there. The villain side of things, the idea of having Mike being a villain and he was actually really violent and cruel to these natives and that kind of forced them to behave in a cruel way themselves, works good up to the point, as we previously said, where it's just like, oh, but they're cannibals anyway.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You can't turn around and tell me, oh yeah, Mike's behaviour forced them to cannibalism. Because the only way that works, but this is a stretch, is you tell me that because of what he did and they had to move further inland, they then struggled for
Find
food.
so they have to eat each other.
However, that doesn't fly because they're next to a river. And we see them pull a turtle out and devour it and eat it.
Yeah.
Doesn't work on that front. And they go out hunting all the time.
Yeah.
There is the problem. If you're going to do that, make it so that being forced to move inland to get away from white troublemakers, you know, and so on, meant that their food supply had dried up because they were further away from the river and stuff like that.
They needed meat.
Then I'll be like, oh, whoa. You know, even the fact I'm coming up with that, I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's not there.
No.
It's not explained. It's not suggested. It's not touched upon.
No.
But overall, I think, like, provided you can get past, like I said, the extreme violence, the sexual parts.
Yep.
There's nothing abusive in the sexual department to a degree.
No, there
you know,
seems to
there's
be a
obviously a
lot.
ripping of tops and stuff like that. There's no rape. There's no forced or anything like that. So you haven't got to worry too much about that aspect. But yeah, it's just that it is uber violent, very, very gory, and it obviously does have the animal slaughter, which was always going to be a bone of contention. But it seems par for the course for these fucking cannibal movies.
Yeah, it seems like you can't make one without that.
Without something, anyway. Some are more extreme than others.
Yep.
This is one of the extreme ones. I put this on par with Cannibal Holocaust in regards to violence, barring one thing, which is Cannibal Holocaust has more sexual violence.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
got
trumped
more
in
of
that
that.
way then.
And I also remember Cannibal Holocaust has a castration scene that's a lot more visible.
Okay.
A lot more But it's got the same level of animal slaughter, the same level of graphic violence. I don't want to say whether this one's better or not. I think Holocaust is probably still better because Holocaust is better to tell a story and how it works out and stuff like that. But this is certainly a surprising good entry. I don't think you'll love it, particularly because of the things we've highlighted.
Yeah.
But I think if you watch it, you might come away going, all right, that's better than I thought. Particularly with the title of Cannibal Ferox. That's so lazy,
Yeah.
you know? So it's kind of cool to sort of see this movie was pretty fucking decent. Yeah.
Also, I like the fact to say that the idea of calling it Make Them Die Slowly would probably be better. But again, obviously they're trying to cash in on what was a series of films, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's many films with Ferox written at the end,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So yeah, it doesn't really make sense in that fucking context. But it is an enjoyable movie. It's certainly one of the better end of the Nasties. Better end of the Cannibal Nasties as well.
Definitely,
Particularly if you look at the previous videos we've done of the last sort of set of cannibal movies.
They're tough.
Yeah. Aside from like Man from Deep River, there hasn't really been a great one to date, I think.
The last one we watched was the really cheesy one with the journey looking.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So this was a nice surprise, particularly as there's still more cannibal horrors to come. So yeah, let us know what you think of this one, though, in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?